We started looking at enhancing communications between ourselves and the students and staff in schools when they were on school-based training. And we trialled it with 12 students, and at first it was actually seemed to be working quite well. The students were posting questions, we had contact with the staff, and then when the actual block of about 6 weeks started, everything went quiet. And really, when we started to look at it and evaluate it, we found that actually the students, the staff and colleagues from here who were going into school could actually talk to each other. So actually having a virtual response or even a forum didn't really work. So really, when that happened, we then had to sit back and stand back and say, well, okay, what are we going to do now? And so I suppose the next thing that we tried to do was say, well, myself and a colleague who was in secondary was say, well, okay, how can we enhance the student experience? If it's not going to work in that way at this moment, we would actually perhaps look at it in terms of putting our courses there. So we were starting with a very small base, and we were in control of it, which was another area.
We can look this way then. So on the VLE now, we've got a quiz for you to have a go at testing your subject knowledge. Now you can do that, well, for now in the session, but if you want to, you can do it outside the session, at home.
From then on, it has grown and expanded from that original 12 trial to be in the college VLE and with 3,500 users, which in those terms is a success. So in that way, we started with something what might be called a failure, and now I think we're starting to review and move on and move forward.
At first we really used it as a resource bank because we felt that the taught sessions were good, but we wanted to give the students more support materials after the taught sessions. So initially we used it as a resource bank. At that stage there was just a handful of us, and myself and my colleague Bev, we worked together because we taught together on modules, so we worked together on putting things onto 2 areas. We had an assessment module set up, and then Bev did her history module and I developed my geography. So the geography module was one of the first ones, and it looked very different then to the way that it looks now, because of course that was, what, 4 years ago. So I've found that as I've used it, I've identified things that, possibilities really for taking it forward, and in talking with students and what they want from it, I've been able to pick up and develop things further. I'm just going to direct you to some of the areas on Moodle on the VLE for you, because the work that you've just done now outside in the college campus,
within the faculty, I suppose a lot of what we've done has been a colleague and myself initially saying to people, well, this is what it can do, and them wanting to join in with us and develop it. And then with the e-learning advisor, it's actually they've been able to establish things because he has a graphic design background. So actually what the thing looks like and what we might put there and how is it effective, and also his background means that we've looked at using it more effectively.
The way that using the Moodle has evolved has really been through need, and being able to talk with colleagues, with Graham, with Stephen, and more recently with Marcus, our e-learning advisor in college, to really look at our needs and specific to each module, because every module is different, and so the way that each area is set up, it may work well for one module but not be appropriate for another. So what I've been able to do is access support and guidance as I need it, really, as I've gone along. And of course, because they have oodles of expertise, I've been able to tap into their knowledge of ICT, because I know what I want to do with my courses, but it's about being able to tap into expertise elsewhere to enable me to develop my modules. So I've found the whole process very empowering, actually, from being what I would consider to be quite an ICT novice, and maybe still, because I don't have a mobile phone even, so, but I do see the potential, and I really do think it's a valuable resource for us. I couldn't work without it now, actually.
We found that the best is where people feel ownership. In other words, they can do what they want, they can get support, they're not constraints. If they want to put up a document or a video or something, they can do it. And if they want to say, well, how can I do this, the support and help is there. But we're very clear that I think ownership is the key to people being able to develop it in the way that they want without us imposing some model that we say they've got to do. There's still a lot to do, but...
It's really good here, really good. I don't personally have a college laptop, and I live at home, so the access via Moodle is really good.
Yeah, it's really good to have it late at night once the children are settled, or on a weekend where you might just have a few minutes when they've just got you up really early to have a look through things.
I think it makes my home life better because I know I can do things that are more of a priority maybe at a certain time, sorting out my children and doing things with them, and then I can come to my things later on when they're in bed and they don't need me.
I've got dyspraxia, so which means I do use it quite a lot more than when I actually handwrite. Dyspraxia is a condition which affects, clumsy. It almost can be described as clumsiness to the and it sometimes does affect my handwriting. And a couple of times I've personally written something and think, Matthew, what have you put there? Being able to print something off, type something up and print some notes off, I can easily comprehend what I've written without any trouble at all. And I'm able, being able to print the notes from Moodle, I've got a hard copy for storage in, my files for each of my subjects.
The places that I've used my laptop are on the train on the way home back to the northwest coast. I've actually used it at home on my laptop as well, and also whilst I was at my boyfriend's house I've actually gone on Moodle there and used it there. So yeah, brilliant, just everywhere really. That's just the great thing about it, is that anywhere you can use it,
To be honest, I use Moodle at any time really, whenever I need to use it. I don't use it at a set time during the day. It could be first thing in the morning, it could be 3 o'clock in the morning, depending on when I need to use the resources. But that's the good thing about it, because it doesn't matter what time of day, you can use it at any time.
Until you're involved in it, until you get the feedback from the people who are using it, you're not always aware of the implications of. So we didn't set out with saying, well, it was about inclusion. We didn't necessarily set out about any time, anywhere. But then you start seeing students accessing, for instance, the quiz like they did with my group this morning on their mobile phones. And you think, hey, there's another possibility here, on, mobile technology of any sort. And so the actual, and I didn't know that, Matthew saw it in that way. So, it's about us actually feeding back and actually really making sure that we then identify these issues and actually the whole area of how it can support teaching and learning. And as I say, it's a learning curve for us as well.
The geography course, the taught course, is a very short one. It's only 12 hours contact time, and so I feel that isn't really enough for the students to get to grips with something that might be quite new for them. So what I've done is, in each area, each section of Moodle, I've put what you call a podcast. So it's a voiceover describing some of the materials, some of the documents, some of the links that are in that section, and they relate directly to the taught modules. So they relate to the session that I would be teaching. So, for example, I've got a whole area on environmental development, sustainability, and I've put quite a lot of web links there because there's some really quality resources and websites. But I've also put a YouTube clip that gives, just adds a bit of humour, if you like, and a bit of background. And then I've put a quiz on there so that they can take part in a quiz, so that they can assess their own knowledge and understanding at that moment in time. Having the VLE, the Moodle area, available has helped in sessions as well, because what we can do is we can put materials on there, or we can put links, and for example a teacher's TV link. We don't have the time in the session to use that, but if the students are accessing it elsewhere, 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, whenever they want to study, they can come back fully informed then to the next session, and they've got questions and they've got responses that they can bring to the session. So it raises their level of knowledge and understanding, so that the session is really purposeful then. There's a link to a teacher's TV programme which demonstrates using the local environment, and that's a really good one actually, that I'd recommend for Key Stage 2 people in particular.
We only have in some lessons like 12 hours contact time, so to have that extra time at home, in geography we've only had 4 or 5 sessions for the whole 4 years, so it's quite good that then we've got this background knowledge that we can tap into for the next 4 years, and you know, while we're in school and out of school.
My college teachers at my old college, they didn't really understand it or know how to use it, and so now that the lecturers here do, then I'm obviously benefiting from it like a lot more, because they're all putting up different resources and different games and different things to just promote our learning really.
There's information about the assignment that's coming for us to do. Resources for school-based training when we're going to school, so from home we can access them if we are struggling with an idea of what to do in the classroom.
On the geography website there's quite a lot of even pulling out templates and things that we might need to fill in, like pro formas, so we're not having to search for them as well, and also video clips that are of children in action doing what we're hoping to get them to do, so it's a good model for what we should be doing really.
It really is about meeting that range of learning styles, because we've got people coming in from different experiences into education, into higher education now, different routes, different ways of working in schools or in the courses that they've done before they come here. So it's about us making use of that and understanding that we don't all work and learn in the same way.
You know, there is a sort of learning curve for some people, perhaps like Diane, who's sort of taken it on and sort of looked at the design aspect and added things, and others perhaps who have used it hugely, but maybe it's still at the sort of repository of document stage, and that's in no way a criticism, but I think the next stage is to actually take it on that bit further and see how we might use things like blogs, wikis, quizzes, various other aspects that perhaps have not been used to their full potential yet.
I want to see a way of putting actual assessed work. So, for example, with my geography again, I'd do a subject knowledge audit. Well, that would lend itself ideally to this forum, this way of working, because they could do it online, a timed piece, assessed immediately, etc. Getting feedback immediately. How fantastic for them, because instead of having to hand something in, wait for it to be marked, get some feedback in however weeks ahead, they're going to get some feedback right there and then. So that's the next thing I'll be looking at. I'll be needing support with that, I think. Working with colleagues is a really important aspect of our work here anyway, because we're a very small team, so we do tend to share ideas, work together. And because we teach on the same modules as well, we develop the Moodle together. So, for example, one area that we've developed is the assessment area on Moodle. So, of course, there's 4 of us contributing to that. So we can have a dialogue between us, which is fantastic for the students too, because they see us discussing things in that public forum. Marcus, our e-learning advisor, was working with other members of staff and suggested that they had a look at my geography area, for example, because I'd managed to have time to put things together and I looked at the possibilities. So, of course, I'm having a dialogue now with people that I don't work with closely, but we're sharing ideas as well about how we can move it on, or something that worked well or something that didn't work well, and how we can resolve that. So that's an interesting development too.
Moodle's really useful for a variety of things. It is useful for getting resources, for your school-based training, if you are feeling nervous about it or just want some help. I like the chat forums where you can just speak directly to your tutor. I think that's really useful, and I think the links as well that they put up to other websites like the TDA website or National Curriculum website, I think they're really useful as well.
We're starting an assignment this week for geography, and we've just been shown some past years work, so we can see what they've done and how they've done it, but we don't have that in every subject, so that would be something that would be better, obviously, not to copy but to get the ideas.
I think it having the same similarities of things like Facebook, like in the forum chats, I think they are useful because not only can we ask the lecturers, we can also ask our other peers as well, and so of course that that helps as well.
It's always nice to know that we can access and contact our tutor via Moodle, and we've often got emails coming through from Diane giving us information regarding sessions and assignments.
It's good because you have got a better access to your tutors, so you can ask them things rather than having to remember to ask them things, and it's immediate almost, the answers they give you, so that you can get on with things and settle things into your mind.
I can also talk to my peers and other students, lecturers while I'm online, whoever's online, but often it sends the message to their private email address, and then they have to log on there and then reply to us. So sometimes it's quite a long process. I don't know if there could be some instant messaging put on there or something like that, so it's a bit more, if you could see somebody was online, you could talk to them straight away.
I think it's only really now that we're starting to get students involved in using the forums and posting messages and having that interaction. They will do if I post a message which then goes out through their email box and says, well, we did this and this today, how was it? And then you might get some responses, but now we're actually getting people who are responding with very strong views or giving suggestions or how they've reacted to a particular session and so on. So in a sense that's very useful. So I think again it's a learning aspect of taking things along slowly and getting the students to understand how they can be involved in the sessions, the courses, raising issues, asking questions and so on.
Now I can even do a text. I don't have a phone, but I can do a text to them. So if they put in their mobile number, they can get a text from me. And I'm certainly going to be using that next week because we've got our level 4s coming back, and I have a law area, law, schools and society area on Moodle, and so I would use it very much for that because that's got to be current. There are things happening all of the time. So I might put things like little challenges, questions, and really to encourage having a dialogue with the students. And so students that may be quite reticent in the sessions perhaps and may not feel that they want to voice their opinions in a session where there's 40 students, say, they can have a dialogue either with me through Moodle or with others. So there are lots of potentials there really.
I've got 10 students looking at and developing e-portfolios, and I'm using the VLE for that. We haven't actually used a particular e-portfolio software, although we might go down that route. Now actually what those 10 students have shown me is that actually given the ability to upload their materials, take part in forums and chats, do video diaries and so on, is actually they go way beyond what I was either expecting or I was asking them in the past.
I think the development of Moodle has been a success here because it is about empowerment from the grassroots, if you like. It's not about somebody coming in and saying, look at all these wonderful things you can do with this ICT and the technology is fantastic. It's about saying, look, we've got this here, we've got this opportunity, have a go with it, see how it works for you and see, what you're going to need to support you in developing it further. And I think that's been the success of it here really, that it is at that really local level, because as I say, with my module for geography, I've developed that in a certain way and I've gone down a certain route with that, but I've got a lot of other modules on there as well which I've developed in a slightly different way because it's about relevance to the area that you're teaching. And I think that's the key really for us, and I really do think that that's been part of the success of it, that it's about meeting individual needs.
It's easy to put up barriers. It's to say, well, what is possible, what can be done, and what are the issues if we do this? Are there issues of security? Are there issues where we need to be careful? But I suppose my perspective is about education. And education to me is about widening people's views and ideas and thinking about what can be done, rather than simply saying, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, because otherwise nothing ever gets done.